tonight's discussion. Why digital making is so important, why Nominet Trust has commissioned a review of the latest work and research, and why we are also working with Mozilla and Nesta to bring together industry and academia, social enterprise and policymakers to inspire a new generation of digital creators. As you can tell, I'm all about the why. I've just spent the weekend with my 3-year-old goddaughter, who is just at that stage. Why? Why does it snow? Why is Iggle Piggle blue? Why does Turbo have a wet nose? You get the drift. What I love about the digital world is that it really encourages us to ask the question why, to challenge our assumptions and to stretch our thinking. Why do so many of us still commute to an office? I think something that may be front of mind for a lot of Yahoo employees at the moment. But why also don't we better organise our resources in communities so that we can care for the elderly and infirm in their own homes? Why do so many of our formal education structures still base themselves around one teacher at the front of a classroom dishing out predetermined facts? Like me with my goddaughter, you can probably answer the first follow-up why, maybe the second, but if you're beginning to struggle with the third and the fourth, we really need to start rethinking how we go about things. And what we're finding is already that digital technology is challenging traditional structures. It's creating new forms of employment. It's setting out new kinds of learner-centered education and new ways of engaging in socially useful activities. But with so much change going on with the digital world, it's vital that we all have a critical awareness of digital technology's potential, both the negative and the positive. We all need to know how technologies work. We all need to understand how the value systems of designers help shape some of the tools that we use. And we need to understand how digital technologies can help us create the kind of world that we want to live in. When you think about it, the Internet of Things, net neutrality, filter bubbles, the impact of smart machines on employment, there is so much that we still have to discover and describe and decide upon as we begin to find our way in what is still a very new digital age. So from privacy to civil liberties, from intellectual property to the ethics of commerce, there are vital questions that we need to address around the intersection between technology and society. And so I guess you guys know all this stuff, but what perhaps you're not so aware of, what we're not so aware of, is that there are actually only a very small proportion of people who are sustained and developed digital makers. That is, creators of new technology, whether that's apps or websites or hardware or games. And that includes young people, despite the misconceptions that all young people are sophisticated and savvy digital producers. A recent YouGov poll suggested that 75% of young people were interested in becoming digital creators, to creating projects online. And also 67% wanted to learn to program and to code, but actually only 3% knew how. 3%. So we do need to be careful. We need to recognize that we are only often talking about very exceptional cases. So at Nominet Trust, what we're really interested in doing is looking at the motivations and the barriers to young people becoming digital makers. What are the blocks, what are the triggers, and how can we encourage more young people to engage and move from casual use to much deeper engagement? And that is why we've collaborated with Mozilla and with Nesta to collate and also promote some of the resources, the activities, the tools that are often quite disparate, and try to encourage more young people to become digital creators. What we're also interested in looking at is the progression in digital making, when so much of the development of skills happens between a range of environments, from home and to school and back again. We're also looking at how a key feature of digital making, as we all know, is that it's collaborative and it's social in nature. And with people working online very comfortable with thinking in public and sharing and working with people that they don't know. And while we're seeing that young people are very comfortable with that notion when they're out of school and they seek out information from their own networks of resources and people to get the information that's relevant to them, whether that's how to get to the next level of a massively multiplayer game, or whether it's how to change the inner tube on their bike. They're very comfortable with finding the information that they need. But how can schools also draw on some of those features of online collaborative communities that are already proving themselves to be such powerful learning environments? Digital making is also about analysis, about problem solving, about creative thinking, and about persistence, and which are all vital skills in a labour market that's rapidly changing and needing people who are self-reliant and self-motivated and who are creative. And so how might, by supporting digital making, might we encourage more people, different kinds of learning across the curriculum? As MIT's Seema Papad would have it, making is a far better way of understanding than simple instruction. So by supporting digital making, how might we encourage a deeper engagement, as I say, across the curriculum? So lots of questions, and no doubt that engaging young people to become active and informed participants in a digital society is a significant, it's an urgent, and it's a complex task, which is why we've asked Julian Sefton-Green to map the digital landscape. Because what we hope to do is to be able to highlight what we know about young people's digital making, but importantly what we don't know and what can't be claimed. Because if we are going to encourage young people to understand digital technologies and fulfill their positive potential, we do need to be clear about the evidence that we're building on, and also to ask more nuanced questions that help us determine where new projects, new research, new funding can be focused. So when you think about it, the lasting innovations in science, in art, in thought, whether it's Copernicus or Einstein or James Joyce or Bob Dylan, they all come from a break with the principles of the past. And what's so exciting about digital technology is that it encourages us to do just that, to challenge the status quo and to think differently about how we want to structure our society. But if we're going to do that, we need to equip young people with those skills to use technology, not just to answer and address the problems that we have today, but also to identify and solve new and emerging problems, to be persistent askers of the question why, or perhaps more relevantly, to, as they analyse vast data sets and come up with new solutions, to ask the question, why not? Why not? Why don't we try it this way? So lots of questions, as I say, and I think we can look forward to a really stimulating conversation. So on that note, I'm going to hand over to Dan Such, Head of Development Research at Nominet Trust, who is going to lead us through tonight's discussion. Dan.